Kate, we said we were going to work on this problem of having to take that ride across the bridge with your coworkers.
Yeah.
I think it's coming up next week, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And I can tell that it's caused a lot of anxiety.
I'm a little nervous.
A thing that I think might be helpful is if we could find out some of the thoughts that might pop into your mind when you be in that situation that would drive your anxiety, like we've done before.
Yeah.
And then, if we can, we could try to look at those thoughts, check them out, and then come up with a different way of seeing it that might help you get over the bridge. So
Okay.
that's what I'd suggest we spend some time on today.
Okay.
Good enough?
Yeah.
Good. So let's just start with the thoughts that would pop into your mind if you're going to be driving across the bridge with this group of people from your job.
Yeah.
So can you put yourself in a situation and imagine what might come into your mind?
Well, the big one is that I might have a heart attack, like my dad did.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that I'm just gonna have to get out of the car and that I can't do it. That
Okay. Yeah, there's some recurrent thoughts that you've had before.
Yeah.
This thing that you're going to have a heart attack just like your dad did.
Yeah.
And that you can't do it. So it sounds like that's something that if we could find out a different way of viewing it, a different way of thinking about it, that it might be helpful to you.
I agree.
We've done those kinds of things before.
Yeah.
So let's take this idea that you're going to have a heart attack just like your dad. He did have a heart attack, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And it was about the same age as you?
Yep.
So he was how old? 50?
He was
it
52 when he
Yeah.
had his.
And I'm wondering, how similar do you see yourself compared to your dad?
I think personality-wise that we're very similar.
Are you?
Both warriors, were both sort of high-strung. He was, didn't like to try new things.
Mm-hmm. So some similarities. How about differences?
Well, there's some pretty significant. I mean, the differences are mostly physical, I think. He was like much bigger and.
How overweight was he?
Oh, he was like 350.
350?
Yeah, pretty big.
How about other things that are different?
Well, he was a smoker. He had diabetes. He didn't really take care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have some similarities with some personality types and worry, but there are all these really big differences with health.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, before we started this discussion of how different you might be from your dad, what your prediction would be about the likelihood of the same thing happening to you here in your early 50s.
High, it would be about
Really high?
70, yeah.
70%?
Yeah.
Okay. And as you think about these differences now between you and your dad, how realistic does that 70% seem?
Not very, because the differences are the physical things.
Right.
So I'd say
So what
it's
percent
more
would you
like
put on it?
maybe 5.
5%?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how accurate that would be. How about the women in your family? How long do they typically live?
Oh, usually a good long time. I mean, 85s, maybe even into 90s.
Right. So we see a different scenario as far as life expectancy with the women in your family, and you're not
That's
a smoker, your weight's in pretty good shape, and you don't have diabetes and things like that.
Correct.
But yeah, you still see yourself as a 5% risk of having a heart attack, apparently this year or close to this year.
On this bridge.
on this particular bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. Which probably is not even.
So we talked in the past about the way people that have anxiety disorders tend to predict bad things happening at a much higher likelihood than is actually the case. So that 5% could be an overestimate too. What do you think?
It probably is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it probably is.
So if we're going to come up with a different forecast of your risk of having a heart attack by driving over that bridge, what would you say?
Maybe, I think realistic would be 1%.
1% having a heart attack driving over the bridge?
Maybe even less.
What if we asked your cardiologist?
Oh, he'd say there was no chance.
Okay.
He would say no chance at all.
All right. Well, if we're going to write out a list of more realistic thoughts, could we put something down about that would be somewhere at least below 1%?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I've been advised that my heart is
Sure.
great.
You have all that,
Yeah.
all that testing that was done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's this other thought, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And again, that's one that's keeps coming back, that I just
Yeah.
can't do this.
Yeah.
And if we're going to examine the evidence about I can't do it, what would be the evidence against that? Is there any evidence that tells you that you actually could pull this off, that you could drive across the bridge with your coworkers?
Well, I think it's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been over bridges before, so I can.
Mm-hmm. So you say, I've been over bridges before, I can. Another tip here, or something that might be helpful, is that later on in the session we're going to spend some time trying to build this skill on working on your breathing when you're feeling really tense and anxious and getting ready to perhaps have a panic attack. And that might be something that you could write down on a card or could take with you when you're in a situation like
Like to
driving over the
remind
bridge.
me?
Yeah, you could say to yourself, I have this skill that I can apply to manage the anxiety, which tells me, I can pull this off.
Yeah.
And then that would help you with this third thought about I'm going to have to get out of the car. Or,
So I have something to do that's going to help me get across this bridge.
Right.
That
right.
sounds more
Right, exactly.
possible.
Yeah, good. So, I have some cards.
Okay.
We've done a couple of these before, these things I call coping cards. And I wonder if you could write down the things that you could keep in your mind that would help you manage this.
Okay,
Fair
sure.
enough? Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
Here's a pen.
I think
So what are you going to put down first?
I'm different than my dad. And I'm just going to put down he was a smoker and he had the diabetes.
Yeah.
I
How
think-
about the estimate of the risk of you having a heart attack?
My cardiologist would say 0%.
Okay.
And why should I not believe him?
Okay.
I paid him a lot of money.
Yeah.
I can do this, but it's hard. Even if it's hard. And there's some things I can do. I can
Yeah.
practice my skills.
Right. We're going to work on that. Good.
Okay.
So could we practice it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Not the breathing yet. We're going to do that later on in the session, but just practice having these
These?
thoughts. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say that you're getting in the car and you're moving toward the bridge. Can you imagine this?
Yeah.
And by the way, where are you in the car?
I'm in the back seat, sort of next
Back
to the
seat.
door. Yeah.
And you're now getting ready to get on the bridge, and you're on the beginning of the bridge. And perhaps you're feeling some anxiety. You feeling some now?
Right now. Yep.
All right. And now what are you going to tell yourself?
My cardiologist is sure that I'm not going to have a heart attack on this bridge. He would say that.
Yeah.
I'm different than my dad. I'm female. I don't smoke. I don't have diabetes. The women in my family live for a long time. This is hard, but it's not going to last forever. I can do this.
Okay.
And I can practice doing some skills to help me.
Okay. And how's your anxiety now that you're coaching yourself on those thoughts, those realistic thoughts?
I actually was concentrating on these. It's a little
Were
bit
you?
lower, yeah.
Good. Yeah. I have a sense that if you practice this several times, it might help you when you actually have to drive across the bridge.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So you have a few days. So
Yeah.
would it be okay to practice these a couple times a day?
Yeah.
You could pull out the card and just imagine yourself driving over the bridge and put yourself into this mindset where you're thinking very realistically about the risk and realistically about your ability to manage it and cope with it.
Yeah.
And we're going to
Yeah.
spend some time later on the session on these skills.
Okay.
Good?
Okay, cool.
Good.